You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt McGachy, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this episode of the podcast. I'm very excited to bring this one to you. Let's get a little bit of house cleaning out of the way real quick, and we'll jump right into this. So first of all, I want to thank everyone who contributed to our fire relief raffle that went on for the last few weeks. We ended up generating a total of $16,951, almost $17,000 that went directly to supporting firefighters' families and those who were displaced by the fires in my area. So thank you all so much for contributing to that. That was incredible. The response was amazing, and the fact that we were able to do that is just fantastic. And also, again, a huge thank you to all the companies that contributed to that fire relief raffle. You can go to my Instagram and scroll back if you didn't get a chance to hear about that before now, but absolutely amazing response. I'm completely blown away and so thankful to everyone that donated and contributed to that. That was just amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And now for something much less important, but still sort of crucial for keeping this show on the rails. If you enjoy this podcast, there's a couple ways you can support the show. You can go over to Patreon, patreon.com/tonemob, where for just $5 a month, you too can get extra episodes delivered to your ears every week, including extended episodes with our guests, including this week's guest, Mr. Rob Chapman. So that was a lot of fun. We actually dig into the topic of extraterrestrials fairly heavily. It was a lot of fun. I had really enjoyed hearing what he had to say about it. Anyhow, you can also help out the show with your gear purchasing habits simply by going to tonemob.com/reverb or tonemob.com/sweetwater for your gear purchasing needs. If you go to tonemob.com/reverb, that's going to take you right to reverb.com, where you can do anything through there, any purchasing, buying, selling, whatever, and a little bit of that purchase is going to come back and help support the show. If you go to Sweetwater, if you're a Sweetwater shopper, you can go to tonemob.com/sweetwater, and you'll see a list of things that I've actually selected and enjoy. But you don't have to buy those. You can do anything through that link, and that will also help come back and support the show. So, all right, with all that business out of the way, let's get into this episode with Mr. Rob Chapman. Rob is a YouTuber, an incredible musician, guitarist, and songwriter, and the man, or one of the guys, I should say, behind Chapman Guitars. I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. He's a great dude, and, you know, he was an inspiration for me trying to do some of this guitar online, stuff, whatever this content creation thing is. Rob is definitely somebody who inspired me along that journey, and he's been doing it for a very long time. So, without further ado, let's get into this episode with Mr. Rob Chapman. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar tone and the people behind it. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Rob Chapman.
Hello,
what is
Blake.
going on, man?
I'm sat in my pants in my bedroom, having just made pasta for my kids, and now I'm chatting to you, which is really nice.
I'm excited about this. I've been wanting to do this one for quite a while, and I was just like, well, his email's right there. I'll just email him and see what happens, right?
Well, it's surprisingly easy to get hold of me, and I'm glad that you did. It's good. And in fact, a few people, I've already told you, but a few of my followers emailed me saying, "Oh, you're going to be on Blake's show. That's cool. I'm looking forward to listening to this." So, yes, your reputation follows, goes behind you, in front of you. It's a good thing.
Let's hope. I never know. With the internet, it's hard to know what people are saying about you in various corners, and sometimes I want to know, and sometimes I don't want to know. I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah, the best thing is just not to worry about any of that and just live your life, I think.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, it gets dark. You can fall down a rabbit hole of, first you're looking at, I don't know, binging with Babish, and then you end up looking at house renovations, and it ends up in like wormholes in space and how to make toast properly and 10 ways to open a banana, and then you're in trouble.
Wormholes in space is something I can get into.
Yeah,
I can really,
me too. I love all
we
that
can get
stuff.
into that.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. The internet's a wonderful, awful place at the same time.
Yeah.
But before we get too off subject and off of the beaten path, which I'm sure we will, I want to know your story. You're somebody that I've been following for years online, just watching your content. But I don't actually know the story of Rob Chapman. Like, when did you start playing, and how did all this play out for you? You've done so many things in the time that I've known you, but I'm sure that there's more before that.
Oh, man. Well, the problem with being old is that there's a lot of story. So I will, because a lot of your listeners will know this already, I'll try and condense it down and make it as non-dull as possible. But yeah, I started playing guitar when I was 16. My uncle and my dad got me a guitar. It was a really, really bad sort of Falcon Strat copy. And I was really scared of the volume. I had a little analog practice combo, and I remember playing a D chord for the first time and just being terrified. And then something clicked, and I don't know what it was, but I was trying to learn a U2 riff, and something just clicked, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I was obsessed with The Edge from U2 and Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath, and just, I can distinctly remember realizing that a certain sound was a guitar, and that I'd worked out that on the music I was listening to, that was a guitar sound that I wanted to emulate. And I got into a jam band, and then, band after band. And then one of the people who really inspired me was one of my very early teenage friends called Alex Bullis. And he and I were in a little metal band at school, playing Metallica covers and UFO covers. And when I was 17, very sadly, he took his own life. And that deeply affected me, and I made a pact that I would never give up with guitar for him. And so I spent hours and hours and hours practicing, locking myself away, trying to come to terms with the loss of him, and decided to go to a place in London that at the time was called the Guitar Institute, to study to be a guitarist. Discovered Joe Satriani, Marty Friedman, Steve Vai. My world was utterly turned inside out. And I just, burnt out after a year. Didn't want to see another guitar, but could play. Didn't really focus on theory. I just wanted to eat food and, talk to girls and things. And ended up with a real job working in an optician's, manufacturing glasses. And then I ended up in sort of me managing laboratories, making spectacles. And I thought, I've got a job. This isn't what I set out to do. I had no interest in this. So I joined another band, and then another band, and then ended up in a band called the Black Hand, which I formed with my drummer, Ian Brenchley. I've been playing with Ian for years and years and years, ever since I was at the Guitar Institute. I had played with Ian for maybe 10, 15 years. And the Black Hand did pretty good. We ended up recording a couple of EPs at Abbey Road with some really amazing producers, one of whom was Eddie Kramer. And Eddie Kramer, for people who wouldn't know who he was, he produced and engineered almost everything Jimi Hendrix did, along with the crew. And lots of my heroes, like Steve Vai and, my God, the Beatles, Jeff, everybody. He's just a phenomenal right place, right time, but amazingly skilled individual. I mean, he engineered Woodstock, and Eddie took me under his wing. It's incredible. I said this before in interviews, but it's incredible how being listened to so intently ultimately changes how you listen to yourself as a musician. So he really changed who I was and taught me a lot about the industry. And then I became a guitar teacher. And then the Black Hand had a little bit of, charting, distribution deal kind of success. And then I ended up discovering MySpace because I wanted to advertise my guitar lessons. Yeah, I was like, oh, what's this internet that is now a thing and never was? This looks interesting. and I made a little video, and it went something like, "Hello, I'm Rob Chapman, and I teach guitar in Trowbridge, Wiltshire. And if anybody would like a lesson, please come along. Here is a major scale." And somebody watched the video on MySpace and said, "Hey man, this is really good. You should think about joining this new place called YouTube, where you can upload videos and you can do anything you want." And I thought, that sounds cool. I'll do that. So I made videos initially to advertise my my guitar lessons, private guitar lessons in Wiltshire, and just became obsessed with making videos. It was a bit like, it was a bit like writing a song. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. You have to produce it and engineer it. And at this point, I was now playing sessions for EMI and Universal and doing all sorts of exciting, fun things, as well as teaching. And YouTube kind of documented everything I was doing. It was a fun way of having a diary. So if I went to do a session for Abbey Road, so I did one for Ingrid Malmsteen, for example, and I documented bits of that right at the beginning of my YouTube journey. Some of the first videos I upload are me with a Fender Strat that Fender gave me, trying desperately to learn live in Leningrad solos that I then had to notate, go to a studio and turn into a karaoke kind of play along type thing. And stuck with it. Formed another bunch of bands, and I guess kind of here I am now. It's like that was 11 years ago, 2,500 videos ago. That's what that was.
Wow. Wow.
That's mad,
Sometimes
isn't it?
I'm like, I've done so many podcasts, and then I'm like, I've done like, between this and the Chasing Tone podcast that I do with Wampler, it's like 400. And then I think of somebody like yourself, or like in the podcaster world, like Joe Rogan or something, and it's like, he's done like 1,700 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm still a baby. I still have so much longer to go.
Yeah.
It's wild, man. It's wild. But so that was 11 years ago.
Something like 11 years ago, yeah.
How much has YouTube changed, and how much has it changed the type of content that you put out in that time frame?
That's a good question that no one's asked before. How has it changed the kind of content that I make? So initially, I'll be honest with you, I was kind of in a little room hiding from my now ex-wife in a broken relationship, and YouTube for me was really a catharsis. It was a place to hide and create and do anything other than resolve my problems at the time. So the kind of content I made was just crazy. I mean, you've probably seen some of it. Songs about pizza. Domino's sent me a little credit card with money because I made a video about pizza at one point. Demonstrations where I don't know. It was just really off the ball. This is what's inside my mind with no boundaries. No, I didn't care. I was making it for me. I wasn't making it with any agenda. And to an extent, that's still how I am, other than now I own a guitar company and I have children and I have serious bands that sell music and make money and stuff. And as a result, I'm a little bit more self-conscious, put it that way. So some of the things I do are measured by my brain. Whereas before, I think I kind of didn't really have any boundaries. I wasn't really I didn't really care what I uploaded. It was just sort of for fun. And I think the way that YouTube has changed is that for sure the algorithm is now a game that you have to play. So previously, if you put a video up, the chances are people would just find it and view it and share it and comment because it was a new platform. A bit like the way Instagram was a year and a half ago. It was a free world. And now it's not so much that there's competition, it's more that the platform has matured to the point that they want to monetize it, and which is fine. And they would like you to pay so that they make money as well. So if you make a video and it's a really good video and you thumb it really well and the title's catchy, you might, if you're lucky, reach 15% of your subscribers. But if and that's a very different planet from where I was originally. Originally subscribers were a very valuable asset, and now I would almost argue doesn't make any difference at all how many subscribers you have. You could have 400 subscribers and you could pay money to promote a video and have as many views as a person that had 20,000 subscribers. So it's really become a very different platform.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed, I've been doing this podcast for a long time, but I've neglected YouTube just because of the amount of work that I knew it was going to be. And last month, I decided I was going to do 30 videos in 30 days just to kick myself in gear and really just make myself do it. And so I announced that I was doing it. I started doing it. And then, as a lot of the listeners know already, there was these crazy wildfires in my area, and we had to get put on an evac notice and all this stuff. And so it was I guess I made a video. The last video I made was I failed, and here's why. Which, I feel like it was a valid excuse, but honestly, I could have pushed on afterwards and only been down 5 days or whatever, but it just mentally took me out of the game. When you're getting ready to work out and you're in the middle of a workout and then something an emergency happens, you can't really get back to that headspace. And that's kind of how I felt about it. But what I did notice is how strange the algorithm was, because I did put out a bunch of different kinds of videos, and the ones I would spend the most time on, and I'm okay, this is a good one. I'm glad I put in all this work. They would do fine. They would do okay for my little tiny channel. And then I did a stupid unboxing video. And it was one of the best performing videos that I did, and it took me an hour and a half to make versus 6.
And what you're describing is absolutely ubiquitous. That's what it is now. I mean, for example, I've had exactly the same experience. I have hired full film crew to shoot scripted, fantasy journey demonstration stuff, and then I've shot an iPhone chat and had 14 times the views on the iPhone chat. And I think a lot of it is, what do you want to watch when you sit down and watch YouTube? People, they want to hang out with the person they like and just chill. They want reality, real stuff. I don't think they want really involved things all of the time, maybe in our corner of the world. But also, I think it's down to the YouTube bot. You need to teach the bot where and what and when you are, and then it seeds that out. I mean, if detailed high production content was all you made every Wednesday at 6 p.m., it would get bigger and bigger. But if you change the kind of content that you do, it doesn't like change.
That's interesting. Yeah, that was all I did was change. I mean, the style was basically the same, but one video might be me demoing a guitar and the other might be me just talking about something. And so the style definitely changed, or the format changed rather. The style was always the same. So yeah, it's a weird world. My channel's still itty bitty tiny, and it's still me just trying to figure it out. but I guess we all just are trying to figure it out, no matter
Well,
which size our channel is.
Yeah. The other thing, Blake, is that we MI, guitar music industry, is tiny. I mean, you probably know this. If you look at a pie chart of YouTube and viewers and what they want to see, we sit in, like, if we're lucky, 4 or 5% of the pie. If we were making content, my summer haul of shoes or top 10 PS7 games or 10 ways to cook beans, you're going to get instantly a bigger audience because it's a more widely interested topic, whereas MI, where we sit, is very, very small. And so I think YouTube YouTube is a robot that wants to make money. And so it's looking for content to push that will make it revenue. And so it's always looking for an angle on a piece of content to sell advertising. And so it will only push and seed content that it feels would be attractive to an advertiser. That's the biggest insight your viewers will ever get into how that works.
Mm-hmm. No, that is 100% right. YouTube doesn't care what kind of content it is, as long as it's noticing that people are sticking around and watching it. That's what that robot cares about. That's all it cares about.
Absolutely.
That's why Baby Shark has 4 billion views.
110%. Honestly, if Jesus and Buddha came to YouTube and made videos about being nice to each other, it would get 0 views. But if they made videos about how to make French toast, they would get billions of views. It's just the robot is trying to find content. I did an experiment recently where I made videos with the word buy or shopping in the title. And sure enough, YouTube just pushed it.
That's so crazy. It's so crazy.
You got to play
being controlled by the machine.
We are the machine.
Or are we the virus? Which one is it?
Yeah, yeah. Topical right now.
Well, this actually it segues a little less into guitar stuff, but the reason you were getting emails was because I posted in my Facebook group that you were going to be coming on the show.
Okay.
And I have some questions for you. So this one actually segues nicely into what it's kind of dovetails off of what we were already talking about. So let's go with this question. And Todd, I know I always mispronounce your last name, but I'm going to do my best here. Todd Menhinnick, I'm pretty sure is right. I'm sorry, Todd. I know I've said this your name
sounded
before,
legit to me.
Anyway, well, good. So Rob says good, so it must be good. Here we go. He says, I'd love to know his thoughts on the future of guitar YouTube and Instagram. The platforms have given us some of the most amazing talent we've ever seen on the instrument, but it also sometimes feels very niche. The guitar is less visible in popular music than earlier eras. Are YouTube and Instagram a springboard for a new generation of stars, or are they the new reality of an art form past its commercial peak and settled into a smaller and more intimate future?
Yeah. Great question.
That's interesting. I don't know that I agree with some of that, but I get what he's saying.
So I think it would be fair to say YouTubers, how do I put this? So I was a musician first and foremost. I played guitar before YouTube even existed, and I was in bands for 10 years before YouTube. So I was always a musician that used YouTube. I do. This is going to sound crazy, but I do not view myself as a YouTuber. I'm just a guy that sings, plays guitar, and I make YouTube videos. I don't make YouTube videos. Now, I'm making a distinction there. A YouTube video would be, let's go out and get a coffee and meet some other YouTubers, and then I'll show you a lick and a riff, and then I'll go and meet a local porn star and have a sandwich with her and talk about the industry there, and then I'll go down to a camera shop and buy a new camera, and then I'll go off and shoot some crazy blog stuff, and then I'll come back and jam. That's a YouTube video. It's a very specific kind of style. I just shoot reviews, demonstrations, and I play my own music because that's the kind of thing that I enjoy and want to do. I think you're going to find a lot more guitarists being born and coming onto the platform making YouTube videos, and they will be personality types that can play guitar but are focused around being a personality more than a person that has a band, for example. And I think they'll have a lot of success. It's a platform that wants people that can do that. And then I think the whole thing will rebel on itself, and you'll find that music will return to the Nirvana stage, where it's big open chords, leaving the hair on, rough and ready music, and the platform will get pirate radio. You know, people will start making non-YouTube content where they just upload, you know, nothing for 10 minutes and then 10 seconds or something at the end. You're just going to see people rebelling against the bot, making crazy stuff just to mess with it and be punk and be old school and let go of their anger. And that's what the platform, that's when it's really going to come back again and be exciting for me. So I have a lot of respect for people who are YouTubers and people that use the platform. But I think you're going to find that there are a lot more social media guitarists rather than people who are guitar players using social media.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right about that. I kind of fall into that category even to some degree. You know, I started on Instagram and then the podcast, but I'm known as a guitar person, but I'm not really known as a guitar player because, well, first of all, I'm not that good, and everybody knows that. But secondly, like, I spend most of my time as a personality, as you described, talking to people about guitar stuff, talking to people and interviewing them. That's what I'm known for. I'm not known for shredding, and I never will be. It's just not what I do. I play a little bit on the internet. There's clips of me here and there, but I'm a personality in the guitar space more than I am a guitar player, which is weird to say as somebody who's been playing for 15 years. You know,
you're an authority. Well, I mean, you are an authority, a spokesperson, you know, an ambassador. But I for one welcome our new internet guitar overlords. I think it's you know, it's a place. Doing that will make guitar bigger because it will appeal to younger people who want that from guitarists. There's a new guy, I forget his name. He's amazing. Who skateboards and plays guitar at the same time, and he's blowing up.
Nice.
Yeah, but he's phenomenal too, and he's definitely going to be a huge deal on social media because what he's doing is cruising around, jamming on his skateboard. It's very vloggy. It's very kind of I don't know. It's very YouTube. I'll say that. But I think that's what it's going to be, you know. And there's nothing, you know. What I'm not saying is it's bad to be PewDiePie, or it's bad to be, you know, anyone that goes out to be a YouTuber. I'm just saying it's a new direction. It's a new kind of rock star. It really is a new kind of rock star, you know. Back in the day, when I was a kid, bands were huge. You know, if a guy from a big signed band was in the locality, you know, and you met them, you'd be shaking. Now, when people meet YouTubers, they react that way. YouTubers are a new kind of rock star, and it's, you know, the world is forever changing like that.
It's really interesting to see how it's progressed from, you know, you making videos in your basement somewhere to now, like, it's a viable thing. It is very much, it used to be kind of looked down upon in a weird way, I think, by certain musicians or certain professions. But it's weird. Now we're to the point where Logan Paul is in talks to fight Floyd Mayweather. Like, what?
I know.
That doesn't even make any sense. Like, but if you look at it,
you want to watch it.
I do.
Yeah.
I want to watch it. Like, Floyd Mayweather has spent decades honing his craft of boxing, and Logan Paul has been doing dumb things on YouTube. And, you know, there's arguments to be made of whether or not this should be happening, but the reality is it is happening. I don't know if this fight's going to happen or whatever, but the fact that we're even talking about it is so crazy. But that just shows you the power of the platform.
Yeah. People will do anything for views and money, even fight someone they know they'll lose against. It's I mean, how many times would you be happy to get hit for a couple of million? You know, it's
depends on who's doing it, I suppose.
Yeah, right. If it's Mike, not once, not even once.
Yeah, not even once.
No.
That's exactly what my dad and I were talking about this the other day, and I was like, he would absolutely be able to knock me out, but I'd take a Floyd punch. Not taking a Mike punch. I might die if I take a Mike punch.
Yeah.
It's
I think Mike
good.
punch is a life-altering, organ-shattering situation. You know, that you're not going to recover from that. But I don't know. A Floyd punch is probably severely hardcore as well. Let's put it that way. But yeah, no,
I mean, it wouldn't be pretty.
No. You know, but YouTube is radio and TV in one. It's a new. It's not new, but it's what people grow up with now. When I was a kid, people grew up with TV. Nowadays, kids grow up with YouTube. So I know that because I have people, I've met people on tour who go, man, I've been following you for 10 years. And I look at them and they're like, 25. And I realize they were 15. They were a 15-year-old dude or dudess playing guitar, watching YouTube videos, and they've kept following me for 10 years, and they've grown up with me. And that is such an honor, and they'll know everything about me, where I've lived, the names of my dogs, my ex-wife, everything, it's mad. And if people seriously want to use YouTube as a medium, you have to be kind of prepared for that level of intensity, because it can get really intense sometimes.
Yeah, it's even with the podcasting, Brian Wampler and I were talking about this. Well, I may have said this on the show before, but we've talked about this a few times where we'll be at NAMM and somebody will come up to Brian or myself, but more so to Brian, and say like, oh yeah, this and that. And, say something that he thought was just a personal thing between him and his wife, not realizing that he talked about it on the podcast at some point.
Yeah, right.
And then Amanda will like it's not like anything like super intense or anything, but Amanda will like ask him after they walk away, like, how does that person know that? And he's like, oh, must have talked about it on the podcast, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's bizarre, but that's definitely things that I've said. I mean, I don't remember a lot of the things I've said on the show, so hopefully I haven't said anything too awful, but it just happens when I don't really edit these all that much. It's pretty much as we record it. That's basically what gets put out there. So
yeah,
what you're hearing is what you get, people.
That's why I'm
scroll back.
Very carefully not swearing for you so that you don't have to do any chops,
Thank you. I appreciate it, Rob.
You are entirely welcome.
Let me scroll through and find some more questions. There's a lot of questions that kind of have a similar thread. So Jason Fuzzmonger and Anthony Dinning, I think is how you say your last name, and a few others basically have the same question: is how did Chapman Guitars come about? What made you want to start your own instrument brand?
I never wanted to. I had no interest. I was always, my entire life, all I ever wanted to do was play in a band. I love, and it's 50-50, 50% for the music and 50% for the fraternity, the dudes, the hang, the chills. It's the best thing on earth, getting in a bus, the smells of feet, and traveling around and playing the music. It's just incredible. But how do I start this story? So I was playing a clinic tour for an acoustic guitar company. It's an acoustic guitar company in England called Faith Guitars. And they had heard that I was playing with Eddie Kramer at Abbey Road, and they sent me a free acoustic guitar, which was very nice of them. And Eddie really liked it. We did some promo together for them, and they sent me on tour to demonstrate the Faith acoustic guitar range 11 years ago now. And on this tour, people were coming up and getting an autograph or a photograph. And ordinarily, I would have been accompanied by the marketing director of the guitar company. But in this instance, he was unwell, or I think maybe one of his kids was being born. And so a director came along instead. And he sort of said to me, how do these people know you? And I said, well, it's this new thing called YouTube. I made a video about an amp called the Tiny Terror. And so because they've seen these videos, they just want to come and say hi. And he's like, wow, this is crazy. And I said, yeah, it's kind of blowing my mind. And we went to McDonald's. I don't normally go there, but we went there for a lunch because it was the closest place. And he said, look, I really want to, hone in on this YouTube celebrity thing, which is what he said. How about we make you like a signature guitar? Maybe we'll make 50 of them, and then we'll sell them to your fans, and it'll be good promo for you, and it'd be great for us to bring in some of your social media following. And I just thought, wow, I mean, yeah, sure, this sounds great, over a handshake at a McDonald's in somewhere in England. And so we kind of left it at that, and I went home and I made a video for YouTube saying, guys, I've just been offered a signature guitar, but I don't really know what I want because I kind of love every kind of guitar. Help me come up with a design. And we ended up designing the ML1, the first Chapman guitar. Of course, it wasn't going to be called the Chapman guitar. It was going to be a Rob Chapman signature guitar under a brand called Gould, which is it was one of their own brands of this distribution company. And so Mr. Bruce Perrin, who offered me this signature guitar, I handed Bruce the design for the Rob Chapman signature Gould guitar. And they were absolutely inundated with orders. Hundreds of people wanted to buy it. And Bruce was due to retire. And he said to me, listen, this is way bigger than just a one-off signature guitar. You should consider launching this as a brand. And I just kind of thought, what do you mean? What do you mean launch it as a brand? And he said, look, just we won't make it a Gould. Why don't we just call it a Chapman and launch it as a Chapman guitar, and then that's yours. You do what you want with it. And I was like, okay. Now, he didn't have to do that. He probably just thought it would be a flash in the pan, one-off thing. It's a nice gesture. And thank God that he did, because we made 500 of those guitars. They all sold. We sold a lot of them through Andertons, because in the interim, my buddy Lee had called me up and said, hey, I understand you're making videos. I really like them. Do you want to work with me? By the way, can I buy some of these Chapman guitars? And I was literally given a brand. I had never intended to launch a guitar company. It was just supposed to be a signature guitar. And Lee said to me, well, we made loads of money on the ML1. Why don't we do another one? What shall we call it? And I went, what about ML2? so we because it had been really popular doing the design with everybody else, like collaboratively, we did it again and did it again, kept going, and ended up kind of being the guitar company that operates with collaborative design on polls, using YouTube and Instagram and the website, Chapman Guitars website. And I fell in love with the process, loved the guitars that we were making, that I used in all my different bands. And it's just grown. Now it's a limited company and we sell thousands of guitars all over the planet. And it's beyond my wildest dreams. Never set out to own a guitar company, still pinch myself every morning.
That's an amazing story. I love that kind of stuff. Where I like intentional stories. I know a lot of people that have, intended to build a brand and move forward with that. But I also kind of like hearing and we fell into it and it worked story.
Well, I'll tell you how much we fell into it. I mean, this company has only been our company for 3 years, I think it is now. Before that, it was literally a handshake between myself and Lee. That's it. A handshake.
Wow.
We just did everything as friends. No, we weren't a business. We weren't, nothing. It was literally just an agreement between friends, because Lee and I are best friends. And we formalized it and turned it into a limited, company just a few years ago. And now Lee and myself are 50% owners each. We own the entirety of the business. But before that, it was just a couple of buddies. We never did anything that would risk it. Never spent lots of money anywhere. We didn't take a lot of money out. We just made a little bit and put it back in the business and kept things going and just played it safe.
I mean, that's incredible. How did you and Lee come to know each other? That would be an interesting story.
Well, yeah. So it starts with Orange amplifiers. I purchased a Tiny Terror to use in the recording of The Black Hand when I went to Abbey Road. I wanted a Tiny Terror for a very particular track I was recording that needed that really hard pushed 15-watt little amp screaming its nuts off. And I made a stupid video with the Tiny Terror, and they really liked it, and it got a lot of views at the time. I mean, something like 20,000 views, which back then was huge. and I got a phone call from a guy called Damon, who at the time was running Orange with Cliff. And he said, hey, we love your videos and your playing and your band is really cool. Would you like to come and meet us and maybe play some clinics? And I was like, yeah, do I get paid? And he's like, we think so. We've never done it before. And so I was intrigued. I went down to meet them and met Cliff Cooper, he's a lovely guy. I met Damon and Aid, the head designer, everybody. And really fell in love with the amplifiers and agreed to become what we called a clinician. So I was Orange's first ambassador who would turn up and play trade shows like the NAMM show, Music Messe, Music Productief in Ibn Buren, all these different things. Back in the days when there weren't that many of them. And had a great time. Sold lots of Orange amps, and then sort of just kept doing it. Wait a minute, this leads to something else, doesn't it? So Orange turned into, so Lee saw a lot of my videos with Orange where I was doing trade shows and where I was showing off the product, and he phoned me up and said, hey, I've seen you making videos for Orange, and you're also making videos for another guitar store called World Guitars in Hitchin with Jeff and Smithy. And, I just wondered if you'd like to come and make videos for Andertons. And in my defense, I had actually never heard of Andertons. I didn't know who they were. I had only purchased stuff from a couple of other places. Or honestly just been given stuff, which was a very fortunate position to just have that happen. But I didn't really buy a lot of gear. And I said, yeah, sure. I mean, that sounds cool. Let me come and meet you. And so they kind of headhunted me from this other guitar store. And I drove down to Andertons, which at the time was a couple of hours from where I lived, which is kind of handy. And sat down, had a long chat with Lee and Andrew, who at the time was a guy that was doing the video work. And I said, as long as I can say what I want and I'm free to just be truthful, then yeah, it sounds like fun. And in the first video we shot, we kicked off and I went, greetings, I'm Rob Chapman. And Lee said, and I'm Lee. And I went, wait a minute, hold on. Could you be the captain? And he's like, I mean, why? And I said, well, it would just be cool if we had a fictitious pirate boat. and in that moment, I think Lee understood me, and he went, you know what? That's fine. I'll be the captain. And he went, and I'm the captain. And that was it. The first video was in. It was the Slash Epiphone versus the Slash Gibson. We hit it off, became friends, and since then, we've done all sorts of ridiculous things.
I I don't know if Lee wants me to tell this story or not. We don't really know
He
each other all
definitely
that
will.
well. Okay. we don't really know each other all that well, but we did meet at NAMM a couple times. But one time in particular, I think we were introduced by Matt Knight, who works over there at Boss.
Yeah, Boss.
And the Guitar Nerds podcast for all the listeners of Podcast World.
Yeah.
And he's like, Lee, you need to meet Blake, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, hey, Lee, yeah, fan of the videos. How's it going? And he's like, I'm going to be honest with you right now. I'm very drunk. He's like, so I probably won't remember this. I'm like, that's cool. I understand. It's NAMM. So that was my my brief meeting with Lee. And I'm like, I think I'm going to like that guy when I get to meet him not drunk one day. That will be very fun.
The thing is, Anderton's probably has the biggest internet reach for guitar product of all of the retail stores. And so not only is Anderton's making content at the NAMM show, but then also Lee obviously owns or co-owns other brands. Mm-hmm. And they're also used by brands to launch product. So Lee and I are unbelievably busy at the show. And it's also his only opportunity to kind of let his hair down because he's a dad of 2 kids, just like I am. So we go to California, We have a few beers, get a hot dog, love the food and the weather, and woo, suddenly it's just chilling out time and meet your friends, and it's like a family reunion, and I really miss it, to be honest. And so NAMM is probably the worst and best time to hang out with Lee Anderton because he'll be going a million miles an hour, or he'll be exhausted, Yeah, I think this was like Sunday, so you can imagine that's burnout day. You're done. Totally. You're done. You've got nothing left to give. You need that Friday morning, Lee Anderton. That's what you need.
Yes. I'll get with him one of these days. It'll be fun. But yeah, I'll never forget that. It was just like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm very drunk. Okay, cool, dude. I mean, it's NAMM. It's fine. Well, let's dig back into this Facebook group and see if we have any other good quality questions. Ooh, here's a good one. This is a very good one. Levi Folk. He says, he seems almost impossibly busy, and time management is a super underrated skill for a musician. What is his secret?
Thank you for suggesting that I'm good at organizing my time. I think, truthfully, I'm probably not as good as people would think. I get up pretty early because I have kids. I'm always up at sort of 6:30, 7 a.m. I am blessed to have an amazing wife who looks after the kids. I go straight to a studio and I just work until I drop. And I've been doing that for 10 years. I think the thing is, when you love what you do, and I really love what I do, it doesn't always feel like work. Sometimes it does. Like today, I had a lot of editing to do, and I really didn't want to do it. And I sat there just kind of going, "Oh man, shall I order some chicken wings or get a coffee?" I've done that already. Okay, it was just it got a bit monotonous. But I do things I love. So if, for example, in a month I needed to write lyrics for a Criterion track, or I needed to write a guitar part for Clockwork Wolf and Company, or I needed to make a video for Halloween that was coming up, or I know they're there to do. I have a to-do list, but I only do them when I have that urge to do them. Otherwise, the content or the music suffers, and it doesn't have that feel of reality to it. It doesn't feel real. So I tend to shoot videos in the morning, have a little break, go for lunch with the guys in Malta, and then come back and write music. And I recently, I've been writing a lot of music. In the past 3 months, I've written 2 songs for Clockwork Wolf and Company, 1 song for Red Tower, and 4 tracks for Criterion. I just seem to be. I can just sit down and write a song at the moment, which is great. It's just my brain processing all of the all of the plague problems,
Right.
Yeah. So I find music is easier after about 1 p.m. and shooting videos is easier at around 10 a.m. I think my brain is wired to be better at certain tasks at certain times of the day. And yeah, there's no trick. I just, you know what it is? Honestly, a lot of people just don't do the work, and a lot of people give excuses for not doing it. Like, I'm tired, or I don't feel very well, or it might not work, or I haven't got this, or I haven't got that. I just do it. Get up, do the work, come home. And it's always been that way.
That is one of the biggest things that I think holds people back. I can make excuses for myself all the time. Like it's easy to just be like, well, I can't do that today because my foot kind of hurts. Like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go hang out. I can't do that today because of X, Y, Z. But I found kind of like a good workout. It's like when you force yourself, it tends to feel better when you're done. You're like, oh, I'm glad I did that. Now I don't feel like a lazy sack of garbage for just not doing it, and just putting in the work and putting in the hours and putting things out there. You don't know what's going to stick. You don't know what is going to resonate with people necessarily.
Yeah, that's true.
It's you gotta put it in. You gotta do the thing, whatever that thing is you're doing, whether you're trying to do a YouTube show or a podcast or whatever. You got to keep consistent. I've told people before, one of the biggest mistakes that I made with this show was, and it was really kind of unavoidable, but I was working full time, trying to get this off the ground, running some other side business stuff all at the same time. And my wife was having a kid and all this stuff. And basically it just got to a point where I couldn't schedule podcasts. I just couldn't get them to line up, or I'd get them scheduled and the guests would have to cancel, whatever the case was. And there was like a 3-month gap. Yeah. It was really bad. And, what I should have done was like publish an episode and say, hey, I'm trying, I'm not going away, but I keep running into problems with schedule. But I went for like 3 months, and this was years ago, where I didn't publish a single episode. And a lot of people thought I had quit. They just thought I was done. And who knows how many of those people never came back. It was really gaining some momentum at that time. And they may have thought I quit and just they moved on to other podcasts and moved on with their lives.
No, probably not. Probably they just sat there glued to the screen, waiting for Blake to reappear, peeping through your window. But the thing is, people like you and me, we are. Let's not kid ourselves. We're blessed to be able to do this, and I feel incredibly thankful
100%.
that I can even do this. And so I think I often wake up and think, what kind of person would I be to not give 110% to this? How many people would want to be in my position? And so that often fuels me when I'm tired, or I've had a bad day, or someone has said something nasty about me on the internet or whatever. I just think I am blessed to even have any of this. And so give it everything you've got,
100%. I mean, I just have to think, for me, the journey hasn't been quite as long. So I just have to think to me from 3 years ago. Would me from 3 years ago be super stoked every day? Yeah. And that's why generally I am pretty excited. Like it's amazing that this is an opportunity that is even possible for people. Now my son is telling people like when he gets to go back to school, he's 5. He's, excited to go back to school at some point. And he's like, I'm going to tell everyone that you're a podcaster. And I'm like, how weird is that? That's so weird.
It's a huge thing. Yeah. I mean, people like Joe Rogan have made podcasting huge, and you're at the forefront, in our industry, you're up there. And, it's the new radio is what it is, really. So it's great.
Yeah, it's a bizarre world. I'm very thankful. You are 100% right. We are blessed to be able to do this. And for whoever's listening to this right now, thank you. You make it possible. So there you go.
Yes. Thank you very much.
So let's see. We're at 50. Okay, this is a perfect time. This is perfect timing. So we got a couple classic things to get into to wrap the episode up. But before we do that, this is your chance to, if you just want to say, yeah, well, you're in a unique position where you can do this on a regular basis, but maybe not with such a captive, glued in audience at this point. If you got something you want to say, something you want to plug, or just something that's been on your mind and you want to tell it to a few thousand people right now, now's your opportunity.
I want to say thank you to everybody who has supported me over the past 11 years. I want to say thank you to you, Blake, for inviting me here. I want to say thank you to the staff at Chapman Guitars who work and make amazing guitars and products. I want to say thank you to the beautiful people at Snake Oil who are making incredible new products right now with DSP. I want to say thank you to my wife, to my kids for being amazing, even when they scream at me and shout at me, to my parents because they had sex and then here I am, and to Devin Townsend for being probably the best musician in the entire planet. And I feel blessed and thankful that this is where I am and this is what I'm doing. And I hope that people who watch my videos and listen to my music enjoy them, even if it's just for 10 seconds of making some beans on toast or having a coffee in the morning or something. If they just get a little tiny bit of chilled out, happy vibes and then they move on, that's all I need to know, and it makes me happy. So thank you very much to everybody listening for supporting me and being involved in my world. And yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you very much for coming on. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I knew I would.
This
did not disappoint at all. All right, so for our classic questions, let's start with this one. What is your favorite Boss pedal?
So look, I'm going to say it's the tuner, because you need a great tuner, and there is only one in my opinion. TU3 or the Wazacraft tuner. They actually don't, and you've got to bear with me here, but they actually slightly change the tone of a guitar. They really do, because they affect the signal. But it's the best tuner on the planet. But the new Wazacraft Metal Zone is effectively a mega high-end awesome preamp, and you should try it in front of a clean amp.
All right, I will. I actually have been meaning to pick one of those up, and I don't know why I haven't yet. I feel kind of dumb.
That's so good.
Is it as good as I think? I've hyped it up in my mind to be really good. Is it?
No, it's imagine that, and it's better than that.
I'm gonna have to. I gotta get one. I have to get one. All right, solid answer. I like that. All right, and now this is where we get controversial, and I know we can probably go pretty deep on this one. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
Oh man, you are summoning the wrath, especially because I live in Malta, which is an hour and a half from Sicily. I'm going to have to apologize in advance to anyone of Italian heritage, or even Maltese heritage. Maltese people have their own pizzas with things like potatoes and goat's cheese and capers on them. I like a deep dish with pepperoni, vegan cheese because I'm lactose intolerant. It needs to be gluten free because I have a gluten intolerance, and I like pineapple. And I'm unapologetically saying I like pineapple on a pizza.
I said this podcast is over.
I would order a pineapple pizza and then have pepperoni on it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I love the apple.
Yeah.
But people are putting kiwi on them and stuff now. That's just wrong. That's bad.
I saw strawberries the other day, and I about threw my phone across the room.
Right. This is where pineapple dudes need to unite with non-pineapple dudes and fight the war against the strawberry and kiwi people for being immoral.
They are. They're immoral. They're against humanity. They're trying to bring us all down. Yeah.
All these arugula, blue cheese, walnut, and strawberry dudes need to just, find another meal.
Well, I'm okay with arugula. I can do the arugula, but get the strawberries out of here. I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
No, pineapple. I feel like I've been fighting this pineapple fight for a while. I remember when it became a thing on the internet to hate pineapple on pizza, and I was like, I've been hating pineapple on pizza. Well, really in general, I just don't like pineapple. Since the 90s,
There's just so much more. There's just so much more on the planet to hate, like inequality and racism, all this stuff, than pineapple. Give pineapple some slack, man. It's a fruit that you can put on things.
I keep trying to go back. I mean, I do hate all that stuff, obviously, but I feel like that should go without saying, but apparently we have to say it. But anyway, it's one of those things. I'm a very open food person. I will try just about anything once. And every year or so, I go back to the pineapple. I'm like, all right, friend, is it time? Is this the time? Because there's been foods that I didn't like that I developed a taste for by trying them frequently.
Okay.
And every time...
Let me help you.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
I can help you because I cook every meal in my house. I've been cooking since I was 6. You get the pineapple from a can. You drain it. You put it in a frying pan with butter and with rum. And then you fry it in that rum with a bit of salt, a bit of paprika. And then when it's fried up and crispy on the edges, then you put it on the pizza with the mushrooms and the cheese. Don't just put on the pineapple with the juice. Squeeze the juice out, cook it in the rum and the butter. Then it's a different beast.
You have piqued my interest, sir. That does sound like something I might be able to get on board with. It's just like it crisps it up, I imagine, and like takes away some of that chewy texture that I don't really like that well.
Yeah. Think about bacon, sweet smoky bacon. That's the kind of vibe you're going for.
Oh, okay. All right. You've talked me into it. That's how I'm going to try it next time. I've just been trying it raw. Maybe I've been doing it wrong.
Don't go wrong.
All right, Rob. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much again for coming on. This was an epic chat, and I'm so glad we got to do it. This has been just killer.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. And yes, everyone have an amazing day and thrive during the plague. And take it easy.
Right on. All right, everybody. For Rob, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you had a good time. I know I did. And if you'd like a little more of this conversation, including some very off-topic talk about aliens, go to patreon.com/tonemob, where again, for just $5 a month, you can help keep this thing going, help keep this thing on the rails and the lights on, quite literally. Quite literally. The patrons are paying my electric bill as we speak, and I am so very thankful for that. So anyway, if you can't do that right now, I understand. Times are really weird. Things are very strange for everyone. But if you could just tell somebody about this show. Tell a friend, tell family, tell anybody you think might get a little something out of this. You could let them know that it exists via social media or even in person. That's that much more powerful if you can be like, hey, dude, you got to check out this episode. This episode is so good. Share your favorite episode. If you have a favorite episode, go ahead and send that to your buddy right now. Tell him you got to listen to this. That honestly helps out more than anything. If you need more Tone Mob stuff in your life, you can come follow me on Instagram. I'm at the Tone Mob. If you need some longer form content, you can go to YouTube. I've been working on that a little bit more lately. I did an episode? Are they still episodes on YouTube? Sure they are. I did an episode where I boiled some strings. I did an A/B test. That's what I did last week. That was kind of interesting. So if you need some of that, you can go to YouTube, search the Tone Mob. You'll find the channel. And then if you want to engage with the community, the best place to do that is on the Facebook group. If you're going to be on Facebook anyway, go ahead and search the Tone Mob. Answer the questions. We'll let you in. We're talking about food. We're talking about gear. We're talking about nonsense. So check it out. Come hang out with us. I'm in there every day. And there are a couple thousand of us being dorks. And it's a lot of fun. All right. Let's sign off for this week. Thank you again for checking this episode out. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.